Hey, everybody! Folks out there in TV and radio and internet land, welcome, bienvenue to Broken Heads with your iconic pal, Adam and Josh, here to steer you through our top 10 list of sci-fi and fantasy from the 1980s, a banner year for sci-fi and fantasy, if ever there were. But of course, my cohort, Mr. Adam the Loose Moose, is coming to the table with an incomplete list. Isn't that true, my friend?
And remember when I said in the beginning that when it comes to sci-fi and drama, my list is going to get smaller and smaller. I warn you and the audience this well in advance.
Well, the audience and I are tired of it.
Well, you have every right to be tired. Although I would love for someone to say, hey, Adam, I agree with you. I don't have that many movies either. I think Josh is full of shit.
Nobody has yet.
No one's said anything. And that is the problem. After today's show, I quit.
Maybe we'll get some comments. Finally. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. But well, anywho, again, we will forge ahead.
I don't have many.
How many do you have? You came last week to the drama list with 6. How many do you have this week?
4.
That's a fail. That's an absolute fail. And one of those was one I already mentioned, so double shame on you. like it's embarrassing.
I can't wait to hear your list because once again, I really have to call BS.
No, because when you hear these, you're gonna go, "Oh yeah, oh you're right, oh yeah, that makes sense."
I hope I missed ones that I would put in the category, but I did searching and
if there's not a masked man with a machete or an axe, splitting horny teens open on a lake, you haven't seen it.
That's it.
That's it. That is how to make Adam fully erect when it comes to movies.
Oh,
that have sexy teens on the lake being butchered by a maniac or a family of maniacs.
And I will say, Josh has seen me erect. It's kind of nasty.
I didn't expect you to bring it up in front of our guests, but now you've gone there, so it was an accident, folks.
It's pretty nasty. I know.
He was watching a movie.
Did you ever get the stains out, by the way?
Really?
There were stains. Oh, that's gross. All right, why don't we jump right into the top 10, or in my case, top 2 sci-fi list of the 80s. You go first, sir.
Well, I don't know why you want me to go first, but I will.
I need to get yours out of the way.
I'm going to come up with probably what could be the number 1 sci-fi fantasy of the 1980s.
Do not name my movie and take away my only bit of shine that I have.
I didn't tell you the one. It's not going to be what we mentioned earlier. Okay, so this is different. This movie still holds up today. There was a remake. Well, not a remake. There was a third part of this that was put out a few years back. But without further ado, number 1 on my list, and number 1 really as far as these go, Harrison Ford in Blade Runner.
Wow. And
again, this is a long movie, so that obviously precludes Adam from seeing it. Anything that's over like 2.5 hours, he's like, nah, I ain't gonna watch it. Too much to watch.
I've not
seen this.
Yeah, and I've never seen it. I remember seeing the cover, and I never watched it.
This is a masterpiece of filmmaking. It really is.
Damn it. Well, I've been going back to the 80s to watch some movies. So
you have. It's a slow process, but nonetheless, I know you've seen 2 movies that I've mentioned, and I'm very proud of you.
It's a big step for me.
It is.
Blade Runner. Now, that's a movie you could pop right on tonight and watch from start to finish.
I own it. I own it digitally, and I absolutely can pop it on.
Fair enough. Great
soundtrack, acting, fucking incredible, and the special effects are nuts. Like they hold in today's world.
It's really like a sci-fi.
Oh yeah, takes place in the future.
Oh,
okay. going after these. Well, they're kind of androids, but they're different.
Androids. Well, that's almost as a great segue into my one of my, I'd say my top number 1 sci-fi movie of the 80s, and really over the last 40 years, and that will be the first Terminator.
The first Terminator. Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course. Linda.
Yeah, what is her name? Linda
Lovelace.
Linda.
You know who Linda Lovelace is?
That is a pornographic.
Very good. I'm glad to see your knowledge at least does go outside the realms of slashing films.
I always surprise you. I like to do that.
Terminator, very good movie. It's another one that can hold up in today's world. I mean,
Oh my God.
some of it is a little dated. Some of the special effects can be a little dated.
Yeah, but that's the future, the futuresque. Yeah,
Yes.
I get it. But you know what? They weave it in nicely where it's not like the dominant force of the movie, it's, and yeah, it does look a little like out there, but this was the 80s. More importantly, in my mind, this is like a horror slash sci-fi movie, or really it's a horror slash action movie. I don't really
it's
even
got a little bit of
classify it.
everything. I think.
Yeah, I love it. It's so
I don't think they had any of his famous one-liners at this point, or did? Oh, I'll be back, right?
He did say, "I'll be
I'll
back
be
at the
back.
police
I think
station.
started here. Yes, that is correct. So yeah, you have a little bit of everything. I'll be back.
Yeah, that was it. That was imagine having a trademark follow you your whole life.
Right, and then he became a trademark guy, and then he almost became a comedy himself. Like I believe you did see Commando. He had a bunch of those in there.
Yes.
So that was his thing. That was his shtick, right? These silly little one-liners. So he still loves them today.
He had a lot of them in Commando. That was funny.
He did. He did indeed. He did indeed.
Now I want to touch on Terminator just a little bit more because this is one of my favorites in the category. And we talked about this in the action genre, which I made a mistake of putting this in there. But I will rank the first Terminator over all Terminators. And how do you rank this one?
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Really?
I would agree with you. I think
nice.
I mean, obviously because it splits off, right? Because there's the Christian Bale one, and then there's even the newer ones. But I think as far as just as the story goes, and I think this one is the best. So yeah, no, you're spot on. Spot on.
T2 is great. No, you know that. And it's right behind it. But T1 is it's more sinister. It's more dark. It's just so good, man. And RIP to Bill Paxton.
Yes.
Did I get the name wrong? I feel like I got his name wrong.
Bill Paxton.
Yeah. Bill. I know I'm gonna get it wrong.
Not Pullman. No, Paxton was the guy who was in Independence Day. He died.
I can't believe I can't remember his name. I'm being a moron. In Weird Science and like a bunch of other movies.
Wow.
And he's in the movie.
It is Bill Paxton. You're right.
I was thinking I was getting it wrong. RIP, great actor. He was in that. I mean,
too young.
He was like a little kid almost.
Too young. 2017. That's rough. That's rough. Yeah, it is.
But yeah, I mean, I basically can talk about this movie the whole show because it's not gonna no other movie on my list is gonna top this one. But unfortunately, we must move on. Josh has many other movies that he must share. So please go ahead.
So this one, there were actually two other movies within the 80s, but I have to go with this one. So this one and my next one were big money makers in the 80s. This one is The Empire Strikes Back.
Now, Star Wars, the original 1, 2, and 3, or 4, 5, and 6 were absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to jump ahead just a bit. Do you have more than one Star Wars in your top? So Empire Strikes Back is your number one out of the series.
Well, out of the two,
those series.
Because Star Wars, I think, was 70s.
Oh yeah, it might have been 78, 79. Yeah. I mean, it's really Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back then.
Right. And so 2 is my, Return of the Jedi was okay. But yeah, Star Wars was 77, by the way. But yes, Empire Strikes Back, you had a lot going on there. And I think the Return of the Jedi, which is still very good, it still eclipses and beats the ones that were made after it, story-wise and content-wise. But that's why I went with this one. And the next one, it's the same thing, where there are actually 3 or even more of the movies in this series during the 80s. And
really?
So, yeah.
Oh,
I'm sure your mind's going. Well, let's just keep it quiet.
Okay, what was the turning point for Empire Strikes Back that made this your number one?
Well, this you had the showdown, right? This is where you
Is
find
that
out that
what it
Luke,
was? Darth
you know,
Vader.
Luke and Vader. You find out he's your dad. That's a huge turning point, right?
That is huge.
You still have Luke, who's kind of, he's still young. They have to go back in again for more Death Star cleanup. But yeah, no, this was definitely when you had everything in there. I liked everything that it brought to the table.
Now, it refreshed my memory. Was this the one or Return of the Jedi where Luke went on the Daniel's son Yoda?
That was Return. No, that was this. He actually went because I believe in Return, it starts off with Jabba the Hutt whole sequence, and then he goes back. So this is even more wide, but he goes back in the third one or the
Empire,
sixth one, whatever, the seventh one. And I'm saying, Empire, he does the training, but in Return of the Jedi is when he goes back and Yoda dies in front of him and vanishes.
I gotta say, the scenes with him and Yoda were just so drawn out and boring. I gotta say,
Really?
It killed it for me. So let me quickly say my top 10 Star Wars is Return of the Jedi.
And why is that?
Strictly for that purpose.
Because there wasn't Yoda. That is a weak explanation, and I want more than that.
I love Jabba the Hutt. I love all the characters in Return of the Jedi. I love this.
You want a Rancor?
Huh?
You want a Rancor?
What about the thing under the floor?
That's a Rancor.
Monster.
That's the Rancor.
Yeah, that thing was fucking insane, man.
It was, and it puts the big bone in its mouth.
Yeah.
Snaps the bone. But first, he eats that girl, that little dancer, and he eats the girl, and then the poor pig trainer guy, not his trainer, but like one of the pig guys the guards falls in there, and he eats them too. He's like,
yep.
Han
Solo frozen.
Coming out of carbonite.
I mean, come on, like it's just like next level with like the way they set up all the action.
Yes. It was good.
I mean, the damn thing in the desert that like swallowed you, ate you up. It was like a lot. I mean, it was like nonstop. I mean, I don't know. I love the characters. And again, Yoda, it was like an hour long in the fucking Amazon jungle.
You have to see Luke becoming, did you like Mr. Miyagi teaching Daniel-san on the finer points of becoming a master?
I didn't like the wax on, wax off. It was too long. All right, paint the fence. Hurry up, get back to the match.
Just get out there and kick his ass.
That's kind of what I was like. So that's why like the Yoda and the Luke, it was like so drawn out. It was
in a body bag.
And Return of the Jedi, wasn't that the one where they opened up in the like, in the snow?
No, that's Empire Strikes Back. That's
hot. That scene was sick. All right, I'll give you that. It
starts with Jabba.
Okay, my bad. I couldn't. It's been I haven't watched them in a while, but
I think you're just trying to be different. And my guess is that if you thought about it and really put yourself to the test, it would be Empire Strikes Back. But for shits and giggles,
who's the outside of the norm? Who's the iconic character in Empire Strikes Back?
What do you mean?
Who's an iconic character outside of the norm?
Darth
Vader. Besides Vader and Luke, who's an iconic character?
Yoda.
Yoda was in the other one.
In Empire Strikes Back.
Wasn't he in all of them?
You tell me. He meets him in Empire Strikes Back. Goes Dagobah the first time.
He does not meet. Oh, but is Yoda there as like with Obi-Wan?
You don't see Yoda at all in the first one. Yoda comes in at number 2 and then 3.
Fine. All right. Yoda was not in Return of the Jedi.
Yes, he was. He dies. He was in the second one and the third one. He was not in the first one.
No, don't worry about the first one. I'm talking about Return versus Empire.
And he dies. He goes there.
Who is the iconic character?
There is one more. You have a sister.
You have a sister, do you? Scratch my nuts, you will.
I actually went to a Dunkin' Donuts to get my coffee, and the guy at the counter, because it was all done through the speaker, he comes on and he does a little Yoda voice. I loved it. I thought it was great. I'm like, hey, I give him an A for effort for being different and having fun about it,
Absolutely.
And he's like, he goes, there is, what do you say? Like, there is no try or not, order only, something like that. It was pretty funny. And I thought, hey, I give him props for
did you give him an
doing a Yoda voice. No, I did not, because I paid on my phone ahead of time. So there's no place for a tip on it. You just pay.
All right.
So I mean, I guess I could just give him, hey, some money. Street performer. Nice job.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So moving along.
All right. So you bang one out. I bang one out. Okay. Go ahead. My bad.
So you're going to bang out Return of the Jedi?
I'm doing Return to piggyback off you because, that's mine. You got
Empire. Then. Next up, This was one. This movie I saw at a much too young of age because there's a lot of sex and boobies in it. But
What?
it's a movie that I enjoy thoroughly. The cinematography to this day is incredible. It basically talks about the whole King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, and that is
Oh.
Excalibur.
Oh my God.
The battle sequences are stunning. I absolutely love this movie. This is a great movie. Excalibur.
No comment.
Move along. Yeah, of course, you haven't seen it, so it doesn't matter. But it's very good. Next, what do you got?
Now, should I go with the tried and true, or should I go with the slight roundabout choice? Which one would you?
You're going to get to it anyway. I won't. I promise to stay away from your tried and true, whatever that is.
Well, you already did the Terminator. We'll go with that. That's on your list, correct?
Yes.
Top 10?
Yes.
Okay, good. I hope so. Okay. All right. Let me go roundabout here with They Live.
You son of a bitch.
Yes. It's all about trying to knock you off one. You're going to knock me off.
That was in my honorable mention. So
honorable. How do you have room for a top 10 and not include They Live in the sci-fi category? That is insane.
How do you not include any of the Star Wars genre in your friggin' top 4?
I did. Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, only after I gave you my stupid movie. That was not on your list.
It was already on my list.
It was.
Yes.
Return of the Jedi was on your list.
Absolutely.
Okay, then I thought you just said I'll piggyback off yours and throw that on there because it's just one that it should have been on there.
No. That's my favorite one out of the series.
Okay. All right. They Live.
Anyway,
great movie. Awesome One-Liners. You got Roddy Piper.
R.I.P.
I'm going to say I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum. And this is the first time you heard that one. So, it was and this was John Carpenter, I believe, did this.
I think you're right.
And I think he also did some of the music again, some of that little synth music, which he loved to do.
Well, he was a big synth guy on Halloween. Made that theme iconic. Well, indeed. Yeah, They Live is a great movie especially for back in the 80s to put forth a concept that still holds true, even more true today with, what's going on, people watching you, higher agendas, Illuminati, all that stuff's still relevant. Like it was relevant then, but we were kids. So, we didn't really catch on, but we caught on to the creepiness, kind of the scary, like what's going to happen. But that's real shit, man. Like you'd think a movie like that wouldn't even get made because like, what are you trying to expose? But
as you can see, folks, Adam is one of those conspiracy theorist whack jobs, and he just basically came out.
It's a great movie. It's great. Yes.
Oh, God. Just don't broadcast from a church because then the state will come in and break it down and take you all the way to camps.
That's true. So They Live coming in hot and heavy for my next pick, and I'm sure it's on your list.
They Live, I said it is on my honorable mention list.
I don't remember. That's right. Yep. That's absurd. I can't wait to see what could possibly trump that. Keep going, please.
All right, here we go. Next one. So as I mentioned earlier, there were a couple movie franchises that were huge during the 80s. Now, this one, let me see how many movies actually came out here. So
I think I know where you're going.
One, two, like 3 or 4. Anyways, so Star Trek. And this one is The Wrath of Khan. Khan! I'm sure you haven't seen this, have you?
Never seen
movie theater. I saw the little bugs that Khan put in the helmet of Chekhov and the other guy, and they went into their friggin' ears and took over them as took over their brains, and they worked for Khan. Khan, of course, was in one of the original Star Treks. That was what was his name? He did all the Ricardo Montalban. He was Khan. He also was in the original. He was also original Khan too in the original series. So it was kind of good to see him come back. But great movie franchise, and this out of the ones that sat in the 80s, this was definitely my favorite. And you just sit there because you didn't see it, so you have nothing to say. So why don't we move on to your, I think, last.
I'm guys, everyone listening, I'm a little taken aback that Josh is in the Star Trek. If I had known that, I don't think I would have associated with him as much as I have had over the years. So please forgive me for
Mhm.
Josh being a Star Trek fan. And with that, let me move on to my final choice. It should come as no surprise that this movie makes the list. And I know it's on your list without a doubt. And that is Back to the Future. The
Yep,
first one, of
certainly
course.
is. Yes.
Once again, I've knocked a movie off Josh's list. That's all I wanted to do. Thank you.
Yes. You came in with a 40% and you failed. So it doesn't really matter. You failed before you said, yeah, this was iconic. Obviously, there were the three movies. And it went, best, okay, horrible.
Yes, I agree.
Right. With Mad Dog at the end and the Western train being that was just dumb.
The least favorite / watchable of the franchise. I mean, part two, yeah.
Part two's
maybe.
got some moments where it can be a
Yeah.
little fun here and there, but overall, from beginning to end, it's the first one. It's just iconic. Just fantastic movie.
Absolutely.
And we talk about sci-fi and fantasy, it's right there. It's right there.
With a little bit of comedy and action, all packed into one.
Right. All packed into one.
So yeah, Back to the Future, like Josh said, I mean, it really goes without saying. I mean, the cast, I mean, iconic characters. I mean, it's just to this day, it's
Biff.
still, yeah. McFly, hello. Crispin Glover, ladies and gentlemen.
By the way, I saw something recently. It was kind of if you look back on it in our PC glasses that we have nowadays. So you got, there was a couple. So I guess there was a couple scenes that were cut, and one was with Marty. Marty talking with Doc about, hey, he has to like try to get fresh with her, and this is when Biff was going to say the day. But Marty mentioned that he would, or Doc said basically, Doc misheard Marty and thought he said that he'd have to hit her, and he says that's fine. You can go ahead and pop, give her a pop. But you had that line which is taken out. You had Biff who's stalking her up in trees, right? Watching her get changed, and then you got who's the main bad guy again? Is that Biff?
Biff.
Okay, McFly was the one who was in the trees. Biff is the one who goes and basically tries to
Yes.
rape her. There's some pretty messed up scenes.
I would have liked to seen a sex scene with with Marty and the girl
And the mom.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't we have seen some sex there? I mean, clearly she wanted it. I don't understand as a young teenager.
Yeah, she was a dirty whore. She was ready
turn that
to
down.
throw down. And of course, she tells Marty, obviously when they're older, I never did those things when I was that age. But she was a raging little nympho.
She wanted to do them in the barn.
She wanted to do them everywhere. She was definitely ready to rock and roll. Those ladies back in the 50s, they weren't all poodle skirts and knee highs, that's for sure.
I know, and I really was like, please, come on. She was hot. Like as a kid, when I seen it, I was like, she's hot. Come on, do it.
You kind of turned on from the old mom and son kind of doing.
Well, at the time it was just a random kid that showed up at the house. She was a horny girl.
It wasn't the mom. It wasn't the mom and son story. That had nothing to do with you.
Yeah, it was the fate would have it. It was just two kids hanging out. But yeah, Back to the Future. I'm done, kid. My list is over. Kaput.
Yeah. And that's a fail, folks. Again, that's 2 weeks in a row that Adam, the loose moose, comes in with a failing grade.
I pray that you have a movie that I say, oh my God, what a great choice. I should have added that. It's my honorable mention. Something. Go.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to come up with this one because this one you haven't seen, but it's a fantastic movie with Emilio Estevez, Harry Dean Stanton. When this came out in '84, this is Repo Man, and this was definitely one of those cult movies that got a lot more attention afterwards than when it first came out. But it was done very well, and it was funny. What are you about to say?
Can I make a statement? I tried to watch this movie.
Yeah.
I could not get into it. I spent about a half hour, 40 minutes watching this.
You invested that much time.
Yeah. And I was like, what's going on here? Like,
over your head.
Sorry.
The aliens and the trunk and shit like that. There's a lot going on.
I never got to that part.
Maybe if you stuck it around for a little longer, you might say, now I understand. Now I get it.
And I don't believe Emilio Estevez could rough anybody up.
he can be a tough guy once in a while. I have seen, by the way, I have started watching the new Mighty Ducks series on Disney Plus, and Emilio's looking a little chunky. He's looking a little thick.
Is he looking like his father more?
Dude, his dad. Well, my wife watches a show with Charlie's on. I forget the name of it, but yeah, he and total side note, but I started watching the making of Apocalypse Now, which I'm sure I hope you've seen that movie at least. Have you not seen that movie?
Apocalypse Now? No.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Please don't waste your time trying to quiz me with movies.
Yeah, right. On like iconic cinema. I'll just leave it alone. Fine.
Please.
All right. I'm gonna move away from Repo Man, and I'm gonna get into one that I could put on any day of the week and watch it and enjoy it. It is David Bowie. It is Jennifer Connelly. It is Labyrinth.
Labyrinth.
Very good movie. Right
Never
there in the
saw it.
old fantasy category. Never saw it.
I'd say so. It sure looks like it.
Indeed, it does.
A pile of fantasy, if you ask me.
A pile of fantasy.
I've
Welcome
never
to
seen
Fantasy Island.
But I have played Labyrinth the game, and I love Labyrinth the game.
Oh, well, that makes all the difference then. Okay. Yeah.
Now, do I get a pass for that? Because
No. Then you should have put it on your list. If you love Labyrinth the game, you should have watched Labyrinth the movie maybe, and then you could put it on your
let's
Labyrinth
do our
list.
top 80s games next.
Oh,
Did you
God.
play
All right.
Labyrinth as a kid?
Was that Super Nintendo?
No, it was a fucking game. It was like
A board game.
with a marble, and it was the maze, and you had to tilt it left and right.
Oh, that's not what I'm talking about here. You actually, it was a real yes, it's a real labyrinth, and you
that
have
was
to
the
go.
name of it. That
But
was the name of
it wasn't made for this movie. It
I
had nothing
know.
to do with this movie.
It's a
I
joke.
thought you meant okay. Well, now I understand, because you've got to give me that context, because you said you play Labyrinth the game after I'm talking about Labyrinth the movie. I assumed, with marketing and the way it is, that maybe there was a Labyrinth
Well, sometimes there
movie
Yes.
game, be it video or board.
are. I'm glad
Yes.
I stumped you.
We all got one of those as kids.
Wasn't it a great game? I used to love that game. I
How
don't
many
know about
times did you used to cheat often?
No,
No, you never
No.
cheated, huh?
no,
No?
I don't even know how you could cheat. I don't even remember, but I used to
Easily,
play it.
you can easily cheat anything you want, pal.
Sometimes you could kind of like skip the hole on that, like along the edge, like if you like tilted it like quick. That's the
Right,
only
and
thing
then
I
the
can
little tilt what thing go tilt,
Yeah.
and then you get.
I used to love Labyrinth the game, not the movie. So let's
Not
go
the
with your
movie,
next-
not the
let's go
movie, the
with your
game.
Next choice.
All right, I'm gonna go with this one. This movie, it meant a lot to me, but it also meant a lot to my wife back in the day, because she was at a party back in junior high before I met her, and apparently it was a necking and kissing party,
Oh,
and my
geez.
wife was being kissed and fondled out
Oh,
on
geez.
while this was happening, and I'm
Oh, my
still jealous to this day.
God,
It
that
bothers
sounds
me.
hot.
Well, it's not hot, and that movie is The Princess Bride.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, that one should have been on your list.
Now that's a sci-fi.
That's a sci-fi fantasy.
Who's in that one?
Who's in that one?
Yeah.
Besides, like Andre the Giant. What's the guy's name there?
Okay, I
his
did
name-
see that once a long time ago. Yeah, I remember Andre the Giant in that.
I was like, you haven't. Oh, and this is the good luck storming the castle, and marriage. That one, you don't remember
Mel
that?
Brooks.
That's not Mel Brooks, but it's
Who is it?
this dude who tries to marry the Princess Bride
Okay.
and whatever. But anyways, yeah. So you've got God, Carrie. I don't know. Mandy Patinkin's in that one, who plays the Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
I haven't seen it since probably the 80s, so I couldn't even.
Of course you haven't.
You could pop that on tonight and watch.
Little
that.
Fred
Start
Savage
to-
is in that movie. That's for sure.
If we're not talking about the Wiz, then I don't know what to tell
The
you.
Wiz, huh? Follow the yellow brick road. So
Speaking
yeah,
of
there we
which-
go. Yeah.
That never came up in any of our lists. I wonder what that's classified on there,
The
because
Wiz, it'll be a musical.
no, the one with Fred Savage where he goes to Nintendo to beat Super Mario.
Oh, the
Brothers.
Wizard. Is it called the Wizard? Like
I don't
Pinball
remember.
Wizard? Or the
No.
Wizard? I think it's called the Wizard.
Okay, maybe it's the Wizard. But
Because when
that
you say
never
the
made our-
Wiz, I think of,
yeah,
The
yeah, I hear
Wiz.
you. That never made our list, and you know what?
Why
I mean,
would it make a list?
obviously it's a kid movie, so it's tough to. But you know what? I could watch that every
It
now
is
and
The
again.
Wizard, and it's a comedy family. So it's not going to be any comedy movies from the 80s.
Well, it's
You
definitely
know
not a
that.
comedy. Oh, you're
No,
right. You're right. You're right.
it's not going to win any battles there. So,
That's not a comedy.
okay, off of Princess Bride, and next on to another
Yet
hugely
another.
iconic movie from the 80s. Several movies were made after this one.
What? Okay, go.
Don't expose them to water, and don't feed them after midnight.
It kind of rings a
And
bell.
that would be Gremlins.
Man, you know what? Now you're full of shit. Now I'm calling you out. I'm
You ain't
calling you out.
calling nothing, pal.
Let me ask you a serious question, and folks, please cover your ears for this one. You're telling me tonight you can watch the Gremlins from start to finish, eyes glued to the screen.
Yeah, that's what you do when I watch a movie. Is you watch the movie, right? That's how you watch a movie. You watch
I
it.
don't believe you. I
You
don't
don't
believe
believe
you.
me. I don't
Nope.
care.
I don't think
You
Gremlins.
can care what you want. Gremlins
no
is an
way.
iconic movie from the 80s.
There's
It's
no
a
way.
funny movie. Everybody loved Gizmo, you know, and
Gizmo.
Stripe was a badass.
Gizmo was the savior. Of
You
the
never
Gremlins.
got into Gremlins at all. Maybe you're too young.
No, I watched Gremlins when I was a kid, but like it just never. It was like one of these little like ET movies, like these little. It wasn't like I don't know. It didn't really do anything for me. It was cool characters, but that was about it. Next thing
It's
you're gonna tell me
funny.
you liked Ghoulies.
It's funny you mentioned that. It's funny you mentioned exactly what you just mentioned.
What did I say anyway? I wasn't even paying
Do you
attention.
remember what you just said?
No.
Or did you
What I
forget?
say?
I'm waiting for my computer to boot up, but I will move on to something else. So, anyways, Gremlins, absolutely on a top 10 list of
I don't
science
believe you.
fiction and fantasy.
I don't.
Fantasy Island. Next, this was a great movie done very well. The Abyss. Did you ever see The Abyss? Takes place underwater. I think it's
Yes,
James Cameron.
I'm familiar with
Ed
it.
O'Neill is in this. This is when they're down so far they breathe they have to breathe the liquid nitrogen. This
Yeah,
was
that's scary.
yeah.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say I think I did see that a long time ago because I remember it was underwater and dark and all that nonsense.
Yeah, this was scary. This was had suspense, obviously, but it had I like some of that breathing liquid nitrogen. I remember when I first watched it was so cool because like it makes sense. Like when you're a baby, you're breathing umbilical fluid, right, with oxygen in it. So you're not like breathing air as a baby, you're actually breathing in fluid. So it makes sense. You can put that on. And he drowned the rat in it, but the rat didn't die and all that. That was a good movie. The ending was absolutely horrible. I'm not sure if you recall what happens because they're about to die. And they had sent down a bunch of like these special ops people because they had found some sort of civilization down there, and the special ops folks brought like a nuclear bomb and they sent it down to blow up this civilization. And then Ed Harris goes down and he basically saves the day, even though he's going to kill himself. And then the aliens from the ground came up with this whole giant civilization and like saved everybody. The ending was horrible. It just was stupid.
Thanks for ruining the movie. I was going to watch it tonight.
I'm pretty worried. I was right there with you.
Jesus Christ.
Next up, and I think this is it for me.
Really? No honorable mentions?
No, I mean I'm just saying this is it for my top 10.
Do you have honorable mentions?
I do have honorable mentions.
Oh my God. Who are you?
I am somebody who watches a lot of movies, and I don't stay in one or two genres. I see all of them. All
You certainly
of them.
do. You certainly do.
Last on my list is, and this was a good one. As a kid, I love this movie a lot, and I can still watch this nowadays. We got a lot of great one-liners. I know you haven't seen it, and it is Time Bandits.
I never heard of that.
So whatever.
Wow. What did
Kid over in England, like gets he's asleep one night, and then like this little time portal opens up, and these I guess little people is the PC term. A whole bunch of little people come in, and they're being chased by Time Lord, and there's villains, and there's like awesome battle scenes. This was a fun movie as a kid, and it kind of grows with you and stays with you as you get older.
It sounds like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Are you sure?
Probably before that,
Oh, okay.
because they go in throughout time, right? There was Napoleon at
Yeah.
one point. They rob
Yeah.
Napoleon. Then there was Robin Hood. Very good movie. Absolutely recommend. Absolutely recommend. Let's get to my. I
Drum roll, please. Honorable mentions.
want to mention up right away. Tom Cruise in one of his first movies,
Risky Business.
Risky Business, my favorite sci-fi movie, where he drives a Porsche. No, I'm just kidding. This is Legend. Legend. He is a this takes place during the medieval line, but back, where there are goblins and unicorns and good and evil, and he has to basically he fights evil in the end. Very good and fun movie.
Never heard of that one.
Of course you haven't. Why would you?
Wow.
And I'm going to leave you this one. This one you've heard of, and you may have even seen it, but we'll find out. Kurt Russell, Big Trouble in Little China.
I saw it like once.
Not like once.
At least I saw it.
I mean, at least you saw it, you heard of it, you know it exists.
Yes, I'm familiar. I'm not like a fan, but
the great was a lot of fighting, karate. You had those guys kind of
sci-fi. Sounds like action.
Fantasy Island. So check it out.
Yeah, I'd watch that again. I would watch that.
Yeah, I think this was a fun movie to watch. Like I said, it kind of covered all the action / fantasy. Big Trouble and Little China.
Action / fantasy?
Remember we said fantasy and sci-fi and drama.
Even though it says an action first.
What did we say?
No. What we said
was on drama, anywhere in the genre, and we said sci-fi fantasy anywhere on, because there weren't going to be enough. Because these were mostly going to be on the subgenres.
Do what I do. Put a few in the list. You're done.
Then just get 4. How long did it take you to come up with a list of 4? Honestly,
about 10 minutes.
And let me ask you this: do you just go from memory, or do you check out at Google? Hey, look up some of the top fantasy movies in the 80s. Do you do that at all?
Of course, I went on to Google. I need to reference, make sure
But you only came up to the table with 4 movies. So you saw these lists and said, no, that's the one I haven't seen, or one that's not worth it being on it.
Exactly. I'm like, damn, I haven't seen most of these. I lucked out. Thank God Back to the Future was a sci-fi. I would have had less movies.
Or wasn't an action back in the day. It would have been on the old action list when you have 15 of them. So, well, there you have it, Mr. Sparkles and I.
Wait a minute.
We're happy.
Can we just announce that we have concluded our genres for the top 80s movies? This is it. We've finished all the ones. We are done. All we have now is musicals. So, Annie and Blues Brothers, and that's it. I mean, I don't know how you feel, but I feel like jumping into the 90s and doing this.
Well, I don't know. See, here's why I'm a little bit kind of apprehensive. I don't want to play the game where I'm coming with a top 10 list, and I've got my sub lists, and you're coming to the list on the table with 4.
How would you feel if we covered action, comedy, and horror?
What? Action, comedy, and horror? Just 3 of them, you're saying?
How would you feel if that's all we did?
Well, then we don't really. So there's nothing for dramas, and there's a shit ton of drama in the 90s.
Oh, I'm sure you're aware. I'm not.
And that's so we're going to have to make our guests and our hordes of fans miss out on movies that they might love because you're too ignorant to see them.
I wish somebody would say, you know what, I'm not a big fan of that category, that genre either, Adam.
The movies I just listed off,
feel free to
I dare you to find me anybody who's going to say Star Trek, Star Wars, Time Bandits, The Abyss, Labyrinth, Gremlins. I mean, come on. These are iconic movies.
I wish somebody would comment so we could know for sure.
The only comments we're going to see are Josh is right, Adam's wrong. Go back to being a loose moose, will you please?
No wonder why you're broken heads. You two can't agree on anything. I don't know what the reason is.
And you totally just died. You're gone.
I'm frozen.
Yeah, now you're back up. Okay,
I
there you
just,
go.
the internet connection is unstable. How sweet.
Well, there you go. I think with that one, we should end it and get moving. So,
I think so.
without further ado, folks, we hope you enjoyed the show, even though, again, Adam came to it incomplete.
I had no choice.
But we're looking forward to getting into the 90s with at least those three genres, maybe more.
He's in. He's in.
Maybe more. I'm willing to do it. It's
Now,
content, by the way.
What should we start with? What genre would you like to start with for the 90s?
Let's go right into action.
Sounds good. A good call. We're going to come up with some action 90s movies next week. I shouldn't have a problem building that list. I sure hope not. But, you learn a thing or two as we use Google as our guide, because how they
Google as our guide.
like sometimes it works to our advantage, sometimes it doesn't. So I hope I can fill out the list this time.
Google said Google just said, "Hey, Adam, get on your hands and knees. I'll guide it in for you."
You want to beat that guy? Listen to me.
So yeah, folks, look forward to that. We got excitement out. So next week we dive into the next decade, the 90s, where, by the way, the 90s, looking back on where I was and everything else, the 90s was my favorite decade. Like it was my most beloved and favorite decade.
I agree.
Just because where I was personally, not necessarily because of the movies or music, but just the 90s overall. Great decade. So, folks, come along with us and have some fun. We're gonna stumble around and do some cool things, going down our top 10 list of action movies.
Hi-yo, Husky Ho.
Hi-yo, Husky Ho.
And I say that
folks,
as we leave the 80s.
As we leave the 80s,
the hi-yo,
goodbye, Ralph, and the Ralph mom, who I believe is dead, passed away. Hi-yo, Husky Ho, and stay broken.
Stay broken. Till next time.